Hey, welcome to SNL Sucks, the podcast that critiques Saturday Night Live from my perspective. A little background, my perspective being a terribly unsuccessful comedy writer for many years, performer also very unsuccessful. But I've written a lot of sketches. I think I've learned a lot about sketches. And I think I can offer a pretty good opinion about why sometimes SNL sucks. I don't want it to suck. Let me make that perfectly clear. I would love to watch a great sketch show every Saturday or later on delay. But Saturday Night Live has some problems. It's very often not good. Sometimes terrible. Sometimes really bad. So that's why I'm here to critique. So the response for my previous season has been overwhelming. I think I could it would take a bus, a big long school bus, to hold the number of people who have listened to this podcast. And the people that have commented, boy, it would take probably a neon, a Dodge Neon to hold. Overwhelming. So I'm back at it. And right now, season 42, episode 1, the big premiere after a long summer of politics. So, of course, as expected, the cold opening was the debate. And they just had the first debate between Clinton and Trump. And it was a little bit of I guess I would classify it as an exaggeration, but it's really hard to exaggerate. I think they could have just done the debate. It was pretty humorous enough. So they only exaggerated a little. I think they could have went a little further, actually. I'm really surprised they did not mention Nazis, KKK, other public enemy number ones, maybe an OJ thing. That's an old reference, but that never stopped them. Angelina Jolie, I don't know, something. I think the best line was when Lester Holt was introducing Donald Trump, saying the man responsible for the misforming of his children's lower face. I've never heard that joke made before, and I dug it. So yeah, it was really good. It was great opening. What's his name is really good at Trump, sweaty balls guy, Baldwin. Kate is really good at Hillary Clinton. I'm kind of surprised she did a tumble at the beginning, considering her wig might have popped off. That was good, and just kind of a debate with Trump talking, burying himself. Again, I thought he could have went further, because he really wasn't exaggerating much more than he did in the real debate. So, but really good. Really good. Of course, at this point, I was thinking, yeah, try to keep this up. Okay, the opening monologue with Margot, Margot Robbins. Margot Robbie. Of course, I have no idea who this woman is. Pretty girl. So the monologue was kind of interesting. They did fact-checking because of the political, all the lies and stuff. So they, kind of funny, and some of the cast members came out and got the big applause, the big woos. Leslie got some big woos because she's went through some hard times, unnecessarily. It's pretty decent. They didn't stretch her. Kind of some funny jokes. Nothing really special. But I did just remember something when I was watching the live Twitter during the show. There are so many people that just say, I'm crying, I'm busting a gut and they're describing things, the most minuscule things, like Eddie Bryant's one line about Drake. And are these robots? They got to be robots. I don't know. Or these are people who I would like in my audience when I perform, because they will think anything is funny. Maybe they're Amish. Maybe they're from the 1400s. I don't know. Maybe they're foreign people who laugh at everything. Dutch. Up next was Action 9 News, Ion Tampa, and they went to a remote where there was a sinkhole, some cars fell in. They interviewed this couple. The woman was Margot, looking hot, and they had another cast member, I don't know his name. He was the dopey guy. Although, you know, I'll say one of my biggest pet peeves with it right now. I think they could have made him less attractive. You know, it takes more than glasses and a crummy shirt. I think they could have done something more. I don't know, maybe he could have made a face. He could have had more of a goofy voice. He was maybe a mole. I don't know, something really crappy hair. Balding, perhaps. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Maybe a bad comb over. Yeah, something like that. They could have made him uglier. Make the difference between the couple a lot bigger. So it came out that was his wife, and the Keenan, who was the remote reporter, was fascinated with that they were a couple, with the great disparage of looks. Then the newscasters back at the studio were asking questions about that. Then they went to Leslie, and they were speculating on him being a millionaire, maybe famous parents, maybe he had a big penis. They just could not figure out, which was actually kind of funny. They nice kind of, I don't know what you'd classify that as. Not quite an exaggeration, some exaggeration in it. I don't know, but it was a good concept, well executed. Could have been a tad tighter, but I say that a lot. And I think the guy could have been a little more unattractive to make the void between their looks even bigger. But I liked it. Real good. Good job. They should do more things about news, like Weekend Update every week. Up next we had a short video, and this was where the show stopped being so great. I guess the librarian sketch would be the title of it. For the second time in 1 minute, Margot was the hot one. She was the hot librarian. Some guys in the library checking her out. And then she became kind of a demon. Killed a woman, had bad tattoos, had bad teeth, could lick you and acid would come out of her tongue or whatever. So they're just like, oh, there's somebody hot. No, she's really not hot, she's a demon, and at the end she opened up her blouse and the guys' heads exploded. I don't know what the point was. I don't believe there was a point at all. I mean, it's just the old show something funny, throw it against the wall, and if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't have to. But for me, it has to make sense. And using the, I don't even know what the name of that song is. It's something about a candy bar. Anyway, it's got to be 20 years old. And so, yeah, she's hot again, and an old song, and it didn't make sense. And I'm going to say I didn't like it. Okay, up next was Family Feud Political Edition. They had Team Trump versus Team Clinton. And Team Clinton had Bill Clinton, Sarah Silverman, some rapper, I have no idea who it was, and Bernie Sanders, Larry David as Bernie Sanders. Team Trump had Marianne, the press, their campaign manager, Trump's campaign manager, Christie, Ivanka, his daughter, and Vladimir Putin. And they all did a really good job, actually. But I think Larry David was just doing Larry David. He made a comment about shaking hands like Larry David would do in his show, and he said something about what's the hassle, and I'm late, I look like I ran for a bus. I mean, it was good, and I enjoyed it, but then later on I was like, wait a minute, he didn't do anything, Bernie Sanders. It was more like Bernie Sanders doing Larry David. And maybe it was. I don't know. I'd look into that. But it was good. Some funny answers, making fun of the characters. It was nice to see Trump's sons portrayed. I think they could have played up the Beavis and Butthead similarity that I've seen on the internet. And in the end, Clinton was hitting on Ivanka Trump. So it's pretty decent parody of a game show, which they seem to like a lot. Okay, up next was Weekend Update, and I'll say at this point it's so obvious they're using a laugh track, at least to me. So it was same host as last year, and they still laugh too much. I don't like when they deliver a joke and they smile, or even worse, laugh. Stand-ups don't do that, or at least good ones don't, or at least not too much. I don't know. It's all in the delivery. So the jokes were good, always are, no complaints. They had two guests. First one was Kathy Ann, kind of a drugged out older woman, crazy, very good character. I think we've all talked or at least seen this woman on TV before. Two complaints about this. One in directing. I think her enunciation. There's a fine line. You want to do a good voice. You want to do a funny voice, funny character. But more important that you've got to be heard. Unless you're just rambling. But if you got jokes and you got words that are funny, you got to be heard, above all. And her slurring was funny, but It's a slurring you would hear on a bus where you didn't really care what the woman was saying. And I think I missed a lot of words because of her over slurring. You really got to enunciate, even if you have to take away from the character. Secondly, I think she was supposed to be in a rougher shape, her clothes, her voice, than her appearance was. I guess the same problem with the husband in the sinkhole sketch, that a mole, even some dirt on the face, something. It's like Cecily just got a wig, got a costume, and went out. And she had plenty of time. These people have time to put a costume on, and they have people putting costumes on, and they have people putting makeup on. I think there should have been a little more of that. Second guest was Keenan as David Ortiz, who just retired. And I'll just say I've never liked any Weekend Update character that Keenan has ever done. And hopefully now that David Ortiz is retired, who am I kidding? They're going to do this whole, so what are you doing in retirement? He's going to talk about fishing. He's going to talk about whatever. And I'm going to zone out, go to the bathroom, and not care. Okay, up next was the Hunch Bunch. I'm really confused about one thing. They introduced it with a graphic, like it was a TV show, and they closed it with a graphic, like it was a TV show. Scooby-Doo-like, but it was obvious during that it was just a regular sketch. It was a couple on one of those mystery, in a room, what do they call it? I don't know what they call it. And they were playing along with a very Scooby-Doo-ish bunch of kids solving mysteries, hauntings. They find a mask, the usual, except the woman, Margot, was not playing along and denying things and interrupting and not getting it at all. And it ended when she shot the monster that came in, which was actually kind of a cool concept. It was decent, but the television thing really threw me off. I really thought for a long time it was a television show, but it wasn't. So why did they do that? A lot of people work there. Somebody should have brought that up. Up next was a very short Melania moment, kind of a deep thoughts thing. Melania Trump wondering what happened to the people as she was looking down on Fifth Avenue when they walked out of sight. Is there a Sixth Avenue? Where do they go? It was good, but they just needed something more. They needed just maybe even one more line where she said something, and why does my maid always, I don't know, something about being rich and out of touch besides Sixth Avenue that had nothing to do with her thinking about the person walking down Fifth Avenue. Just something else to grab her attention and think about. That would be funny. I wish I had something I could add to it, but I'm rusty. Okay, up next was the Women's Roundtable on Film, with a host and 4 actresses. One was Kate, who was the only not straight woman in this. She was the focus. She was an old woman actress who reminisced about the old days. Kind of a decent sketch. Good concept about how things have changed for women and the bad old days of where they would have to give you drugs and you'd have to sleep with people to get parts, although like that doesn't happen now. But we like to think it doesn't, and we know it did back then. Two people I'm going to call out a little. I think the director, Kate, I think her old person is decent, but when she reacted to $5 million, when Keira Knightley said she got $5 million a film, her reaction was like a child and not an old person. I think an old person would have shot their head back, opened their mouth, put their hand on her chest, throat, and went, "Oh goodness!" But she reacted like a child, was looking at a new bike. And I think makeup again, makeup. They could have done something to make her look old. You just can't go backstage and put a sweater on and a wig. Well, you can if you don't have any time, but if you have time and people to help you, you should do it. So, decent concept. I think it could have been, it needed some editing, it needed some punching up. Meh. Up next was another musical performance by The Weeknd. Okay, and finally there was a pre-tape with Leslie playing off her hacking scandal over the summer. I think it was a parody of a show that I have not seen. So, but it was good. I think if I liked or familiar with the show, I'd probably like it even more. But it was good. Their production is so good on video and the shooting, all that. Boy, I wish I had their resources. So, I'm Fred Garvin, and I'm going to be wrapping this up. It was a good show. It's easy to come up with good ideas when you have all summer. As a writer, you should be thinking of ideas all the time. Something strikes you, you try to remember it. I think I could have a pretty good show of all the ideas I had but forgot. But yeah, good show. Wasn't perfect. I had makeup problems and little direction problems. Some writing needed tightening up. But good show. Margot did good. The Weeknd did good. I don't know. So, for Saturday Night Live, I am prescribing 2 Lorraine Newmans and 3 Garrett Morrises as penance. Okay, I'm Fred Garvin for the SNL Sucks podcast. Good night.